Today, I will be breaking down the top quarterbacks you should be targeting in your upcoming fantasy drafts. Let's get started. First up is Matt Stafford. He's going pretty late in drafts, which makes sense. He faced a season-ending injury, so people are hesitant to draft him because they're more worried about his risk of re-injury instead of focusing on the fact that through the first 8 games, he was quarterback 6. Sports doctors have commented on his injury, and they basically said, the dude's just unlucky. He's not a high risk of re-injury, and he isn't injury-prone. I definitely think that we should take this into consideration when we're looking at his discounted draft price. Let's talk about Stafford's weapons. On the outside, he has Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay, the same 2 deep threat targets that he had last year when he led the league in the deep pass. He had 32% of his passes for more than 20 yards. With these 2 on the outside, if we can expect even similar production as last year, there's definitely a lot of potential for upside. Additionally, Stafford has Kerryon Johnson back from IR and their recent draft pick, DeAndre Swift. Kerryon isn't anything new. They started off last season together, but the addition of DeAndre Swift to this backfield, it should make it the best running back combination that Stafford has played with. Another part of this offense is TJ Hawkinson. He had a rough first year with injuries and production, but low production is typical for rookie tight ends, so we should see some improvement there. What are you getting if you're drafting Stafford? He has a relatively high floor, guaranteeing you a certain number of points each week, so he should return value at the position, but we can't overlook his potential for upside. We saw a glimpse at what he is capable of last season. In his first 8 games, he had 19 touchdowns, 2,500 passing yards, averaging more than 20 fantasy points per game. The dude was on pace to finish as quarterback 4. The main point is, Stafford would be going much higher in drafts if he didn't get injured last season. This quarterback you should be targeting is Daniel Jones. In his first 13 games he started after Eli was benched, he put up 24 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns. He was a great waiver wire pickup for fantasy teams last year, and he shows he has the capability to be a mobile quarterback. You can get him in the 11th to 13th round, so he's a great value if you're waiting on the quarterback position till the end of your draft. The Giants have a decent receiving core, with Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard, and Darius Slayton. The Giants management and coaches didn't take any receivers in the draft, and they also didn't acquire any over free agency, showing that they also have some confidence in these receivers. I really don't think we have seen what this offense is capable of with Daniel Jones, considering all of last year the Giants were battling injury. Evan Ingram was injured. He's always injured. Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard both missed some time, and a really key part of their offense, Saquon Barkley, missed 3 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Even when he returned, he definitely wasn't back to 100%. Starting off the season with these players healthy and an improved offensive line, they spent 3 draft picks on their O-line, and a first-round pick. With Saquon Barkley fully back from his high ankle sprain, another year in the NFL for Daniel Jones, a lot of things are trending in the right direction for this Giants offense. And in the 12th or 13th round, I'm good with drafting him as a late quarterback grab. And now, the GOAT, Tom Brady. Let me start this one off by saying the man hasn't fallen off a cliff. In past seasons, he hasn't even had Gronk for long stretches of time, so his only reliable weapon the last few years was Julian Edelman. Brady's connection with Edelman has been at an elite level for several years. The problem has been with Brady's outside wide receivers. He had N'Keal Harry, who was injured last season, and he didn't even play well when he was healthy. He had Philip Dorsett, who may be the fastest in the league, but he just isn't that good. And he had Mohamed Sanu. Now, Sanu's a really reliable receiver with good hands, but they got him halfway through the season, not giving him any time to build chemistry with Brady. It also didn't help that Sanu was more effective over the middle of the field than outside the numbers. Because of the lack of talent he's had on the outside, Brady's been forced to not take as many deep shots and throw to extremely mediocre talent. And now he lands in Tampa, in a Bruce Arians offense, who's known to produce players that put up good fantasy numbers. He has Mike Evans on the outside and Chris Godwin, who plays a decent amount of snaps in the slot. Godwin at 23 is more of a talent than Edelman at 33. The chemistry between Edelman and Brady won't be replicated with Godwin right off the bat, but Godwin is faster, stronger, and more physically gifted than Edelman. And he showed he's the real deal when he put up the second most fantasy points in the league last year. And if you think that Jameis is a more accurate passer than Tom Brady, I don't even know. Brady has 3 tight ends on the roster, between Brady, O.J. Howard, and Gronk. This raises a lot of questions, like, will O.J. Howard even be on the roster come week 1? Is Gronk going to be good coming back from retirement? Should he just stick to Tide Pod commercials? As of now, all we know is that Brady has 3 solid tight ends to throw to. The backfield could be a lot better, but it's not too bad. Ronald Jones is very young, even younger than Keyshawn Vaughn, who they just drafted. And he did show improvement from his year 1 to year 2, so it could be a Ronald Jones heavy or more of a committee. Either way, this is an average backfield that is part of a high-powered offense that Tom Brady will be leading. Last year, with really only Edelman and James White to throw to, Brady put up 24 passing touchdowns and 4,000 passing yards. A down year in terms of fantasy production, but with the new weapons on a high-powered offense, Brady looks poised for a bounce-back year. Moving on to one of the most interesting fantasy quarterbacks in terms of volatility, Big Ben. He has the biggest home road splits out of any quarterback, and this isn't a coincidence. At home, the Steelers' game plan is to let him sling it, but when the Steelers go on the road, they switch their game plan to a more run-heavy approach, especially in AFC North divisional matchups, so this is a perfect example of when to sit him. Big Ben is perfect for players who like to use a 2-quarterback approach because you know when to play him. Only at home. Last year, it was a big disappointment for the Steelers when Ben went down and had to have Tommy John surgery. Pittsburgh's offense was very bad without him. But let's talk about his weapons going into this season. Juju! Juju is a beast. Even though I do take into account Matt Harmon's reception perception stats, I don't think these are a good argument against Juju's future production against cornerback 1 coverage. Essentially, these stats look at how often a receiver got open against the defenders covering him. Juju's ranked low, and not including last season because he was dealing with a lot of injuries, but the previous 2 seasons he was also ranked low, showing that Big Ben and him have a lot of chemistry. He likes to throw to Juju in traffic, and Juju does really well in these situations. Last season, when things went south with Antonio Brown, Big Ben came out and said that Juju was the more reliable receiver between the 2. The point is that Ben trusts Juju and throws to him even when he's covered. There's a lot of chemistry between these 2. The Steelers also have Deontay Johnson. Even with bad tosses from Mason Rudolph, he still proved that he's not only a deep threat, but a pretty damn good receiver. Now, I could tell you how he's going to be a second-year breakout, but I'll save that for a future episode. Hopefully, the Steelers can muster up one solid, healthy running back this season between James Conner, Anthony McFarland, and Benny Snell. The questionable running back health and production could lead to Big Ben seeing a slight increase in volume compared to years past, even with more positive game scripts resulting from their much-improved defense. To drive this point home, in the last 5 consecutive seasons, based on fantasy points per game, Big Ben has ranked in the top 10 every year from 2014 to 2018. And in the past, people may have felt burnt by him, but that's only because they were drafting him too early. Now that his ADP's dropped, there isn't really a lot of risk with a late-round pick on a guy that's gonna win you weeks when they're playing at home. Every few episodes, I'll include an honorable mentions category for those who don't quite make the cut. This week's goes to Carson Wentz. First off, the Eagles were the most injured out of any team, ever. It was really sad to watch. I mean, hopefully with returning weapons, second-year Miles Sanders, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, and drafting Jalen Reagor, this offense will be able to piece itself back together. And there's also a possibility that Deshaun Jackson comes back. I'd like to have Wentz on my team this year. Problem is, he's getting a lot of fantasy hype, and rightfully so, but to be completely transparent, I prefer to take my quarterback between rounds 10 and 13, so Wentz probably won't make it on any of my teams, unless his draft price drops. Question for you guys, who's your favorite late round quarterback target? Leave your answers in the comments, I can't wait to read them. If you want more quality content to win your league, subscribe so you don't miss anything. I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. See you guys on the next one.